Welcome to In Conversation as we give you coverage of day two budget debate here in the Parliament of Guyana. We just looked at the speech by our Honorable MP Sherod Duncan, bringing down the floor, ringing the bell, doing everything
It's a
all
mixed
at
bag. It's a
once.
mixed bag.
Welcome, MP Duncan.
Thank you very much, Shanika. I'm happy to be here. Not happy to be on this side of the table, though.
Well, you'll have to get comfortable in the next couple of minutes with
Good.
us as we get down to what happened in today's presentation. Again, I'm going to say the presentation was beautifully done. I mean, the points were made. I'm sure you didn't get to say everything because we saw
Definitely.
how we started with the timing as well, the back and forth with you and the speaker, for those who were looking at the presentation. So we know you lost some time there as well. But let's talk about the issue with the speaker, and then we'll get in. We saw what happened there. The speaker, in fact, went so far to stand, and we understand parliamentary rules when the speaker is standing, how serious it is said to be in parliamentary setting. Let's talk about what happened there.
Yeah. So they have restricted the media, as we know it, from coming to the National Assembly, especially being in the dome. You're getting a feed from DPI. I think it's DPI. And then a lot of media houses have been complaining too that it's not on time. It's not real time. You get it afterwards, sometimes into the evening, and media houses now want to do their work in real time. So that is the challenge. Why all of a sudden media houses are being rationed in the National Assembly? They're being rotated in the National Assembly. That has never obtained. Why are we even at our town conference center? COVID is behind us. We came here because of COVID. Why are we still here? And we have now kind of relegated the National Assembly as we know it in Brigdam to youth parliament. Why is that? Why are we here still? And at that time, when Parliament was held, anybody could come in the gallery.
Correct.
There was a section for media, and I never heard any complaints about the media being too loud or not observing the rules of the house and so on.
Yeah.
So why this new thing? And I think it's because the government wants its own narrative there, and we're coming off of the fact that it has taken this government over 3 months to even swear in the opposition. They're sanctioned, indicted. That has its place. But they took that length of time to do that. And so you have to watch them very carefully. No committee in the National Assembly, I think save one that was appointed yesterday. Is functioning currently. And that is the environment in which we find ourselves. And so I couldn't let the moment pass without saying, as our party has said, this is the PNCR APNU has said, that this is an egregious decision from the speaker, and that we should roll this back immediately. And that is what I did. And of course, I could appreciate what the speaker tried to do too, because he wants to come out of this looking squeaky clean. He wants to come out of this looking like the best speaker ever. But sadly, he has this history. The history has already been made and is continuing to be made on the quality of speaker that he is. And that's not up to me to say the kind of speaker he is. I think the public has a good view on that. And so that is what you saw. But I understand what he was attempting to do when he stood up, and so I just stayed composed, because I know as soon as you say something, he will go on even more. So I was just listening to him, and that's why I asked him, well, since you were talking about what the standing order said about the media, about the committees, what the standing order said about the committees.
Yes. Well, we saw that showdown. As you said, I think you kept your composure despite we saw the aggression as well that was coming in him, I guess, representing himself in this issue that has been all over the media. The media houses are talking about it literally every day. And they're also threatening to write international bodies regarding the operation of the government on these matters. And as you rightfully said, I was in here asking the question when he did say that, why we don't have COVID restrictions. And in fact, I perceive this space to be larger than what is at
Correct.
the public
Correct.
building. And why then do we need all these restrictions if you have more space to play with? So that's how we
Yeah,
started.
yeah. But you know, too, the other thing too is if um you know, they didn't tell us we could bring people for props. And if you see, the Minister of Agriculture brought a large delegation, and once he was finished and those seats were freed up, they had a lot
A
of
lot
room in
of
the house. And
seats,
maybe
yeah.
that is part of it. You know, they're utilizing the space for props. And we were even told that some of those people, those persons were threatened that if you don't come, you wouldn't get a contract or what have you. So he seemed to have brought a large delegation of persons, but that doesn't seem to have been extended outside the house, because I know we had some trouble getting some folks
I
for
was
us
just going to say
inside.
that.
But I'll tell you what is the danger of having NCN alone. Now, we're coming out from an electoral period. We had the Commonwealth Observer Mission report
Yeah.
that said how skewed government media
Media
was
was.
to the government during that period. We also have the EU Observer Mission report that echoes the same sentiments, basically saying there was an uneven playing field. And that's why I say we got to watch them, because if the government would go to that length to retain power, imagine in the day-to-day exercise of power, you know, your rights that they're trampling on. And that is the concern. Now, NCN is only going to tell you what the government says. NCN ain't going to show Sherod Duncan. The NCN ain't going to show Creta McDonald or Sharma Salman. And that is the tragedy that we have. When reporters got to depend on NCN for a balanced view of what took place in the National Assembly, we are on very, very shaky grounds.
Agreed. You are covering Ministry of Home Affairs and Housing in these debates with your restraint of time because of the issue, and you know you only had 15 and maybe an extension of 5. You didn't really get to pushing, I guess, as much as you wanted with Home Affairs, but you started out to remind the government that there isn't only one person that is sanctioned in the country. So their operation and the things they're willing to talk about, we have to expand. And you made some comments in that regard, and I think we should talk about that.
My own thinking is largely that we have to rethink government. That's broadly. Because we're trying to do a lot of stuff that we used to do, but the container of government is expanding because of the wealth that we have as a nation now. And part of this rethinking, to me, has to be the police force. Ain't got no amount of money you could put in the police force. Go and get those officers who are corrupted to be uncorruptible. As a matter of fact, it's going to deepen that. We got to fix some structural things in the police force. Now, you have a lot of officers here who do a lot of bidding for this government. And that is why the government keep them on, whether they're sanctioned or they're not. I'm still told that Hem not sure. He used to be a commander, I think, in Region 1. He was sanctioned by the US, implicated in cocaine smuggling. I'm being told he's still on the job being paid. Right? We know that he was sanctioned. There's an allegation that Mr. Caesar, he has had his visa revoked. He is still on the job. The government isn't investigating him as to why his visa, as a matter of fact, they know why his visa was revoked. But some of these folks, proverbially, they know where the bodies are buried. And so they are kept on for that purpose. And so when we talk about all of this, we also have the issue of the misconduct, sexual misconduct allegations against senior members of the Ghana Police Force. They're still on the job. They have not been asked to step aside even for those investigations to go on unimpeded by those same members. And it's the same people we see all the time involved in this. Now, I said the issue about the biggest budget and the amount of money now we're dedicating to the police force ain't gonna fix this problem. Think about the issue with Mr. Brutus. How many hundreds of millions of dollars a senior policeman had in his bank account? You know, we know that for a fact. He alleges that he saved a lot of his salary, he didn't have to spend it, and all of that. That is still winding its way through the Ghana Police Force. He has implicated a lot of people too in that by statements that he has made. The commissioner of police himself
Yes.
is on record as saying that he was the nanny. I mean, he was the wedding planner. He accepted monies on behalf of Mr. Brutus when he was getting married. Millions of dollars. This is the Ghana police force. It is unheard of in a place like Trinidad. It is unheard of in a place like Barbados. And it's part of the continuing disrespect to the Guyanese people that we have a cadre of senior officers in the police force with all of these allegations of misconduct against their name, and they're kept on.
As we head into housing, there was a lot said on the housing issues. And, one of the things, the statements that you made that, ordinary Guyanese see it every day. The waste of taxpayers' money in this whole thing of infrastructure, which happens to be the largest part of the budget. But when you hear about the projects and you go and visit these projects, the things that you're seeing at these projects, they are waste of taxpayer money because they're not being done properly. Let's talk about that.
Well, let me say that, as I said, they've borrowed our theme liberally. They've borrowed our theme very liberally, putting people first, but they cannot execute it the way we would have done. Now, coming from the security sector, take a place like EP Enterprise on the East Coast. One of the challenges they have there is security. There's a security hub right at the head of where that housing community begins on the East Coast, close to Enterprise. Now, they will tell you, police don't come down at the back. Anything happens at the back and you call them, they say, we only got one ATV. If the police in a community just on the outskirts of the national capital city, and they're accessing the area by ATV, that could tell you the state of the road.
Yes,
that's number one. Right? Now, how much money you gotta give the police force in a budget to get a policeman to move from the hut to go look after crime and criminal issues? And people will tell you, as I said, soon as we got out of our vehicle on our last visit, a woman said that Steve brought at the backy. Be careful. And people tell you all the time, you come to bill, you leave in the nights, people thief your door, thief your toilet, thief out your wall, and they call the police, they never show up. So that's why we have said, these housing allocations, these communities, these schemes, they need running water. You need light. You need good roads, good drainage, as well as the basic minimum. Mind you, we've offered, as part of APNU, a free house lot. Anybody earning below $400,000, free house lot, but that's like the majority of the population.
Correct.
Below $400,000 a month, a free house lot. And if you're renting, we can help you with your rent. Not only that, because we want to be protective of the citizens against unscrupulous landlords, we can do a renter's bill of rights. Then we can hold renters too. They can't just raise rent willy-nilly. They got to keep your place a certain way. They got to maintain, of course, these persons who are renting, they have obligations too. But all of that was part of the package. And as we see now, because the government has a failed model in allocating these house lots, they've now gone again to the APNU manifesto and they plucked out housing solutions.
Without the full plan.
Without the full plan. Now, we were doing housing solution and we didn't have oil money.
Right.
And we were doing housing solutions because we believe that people should be housed with dignity, that everybody should have a shelter over their heads as a basic minimum human right. Part of what I wanted to say, but in the interest of time, I didn't have a chance to say, is that it would seem we have to now ingrain some of this in law, that central housing and planning cannot give out an allocation without the infrastructure in place. And I'll tell you why. That resident in Nonpareil, that resident in EP Enterprise purchases a house lot, let's say $500,000. They purchase a house lot. You think the woes end there? No. You gotta get every month $8,000 to bring in that water. With a black every week rather to bring in that water with a black tank. For those who
In
can
this
afford,
economy.
we have to be able to afford solar panel because there's no electricity in there. And some people might say, okay, solar panel might be too expensive. Let me try a little generator. It's gasoline. Every day, every week, you have to have gasoline to run your generator. That's an additional cost.
Yeah.
No, I told you that to get in there, the police using an ATV, what taxi driver costs in? $5,000 from the head of the road to go down at the back in the scheme. All of that. And that is why we say that an allocation is not an asset. It's a debt you have until that house is standing on that property with all of what you call a service lot, electricity, water, light, and good drains and all that. That is a service lot. But this government is stretched in. But they want to appeal to the electorate. And so they throw these flashy things. We have 100, they'll tell you, we have 100 housing schemes, but you can't finish one.
You know, when you talked about the numbers they're giving, 53,000
Allocations, that's what they say.
And the thing about it, it is something that we have seen the issue with, and it seems that they're not learning, because prior to 2015, it was the same thing they were doing. Many people have house lots on paper and they haven't even seen it because you can't even go into the area that it is located. So what is the purpose of just telling people I've handed out thousands of house lots, but it cannot be used? I still have to be paying rent while I pay you for the land that I can't even see. And if I pay you, you're telling me you're taking it back and you're giving it to somebody else.
Correct. They're forcing you.
You're literally, it's almost as if you're running a scam on the citizens.
We figured this out since before 2020. Because when we came in as after FC government and we did an audit in 2017 through housing, that audit showed that over 60% of the allocations on the PPP were unoccupied because of the same reason.
Correct.
Because of the same reason. And we're seeing it now as well, that we have hundreds of thousands of allocations, right? That has been made over the years, still unoccupied because those areas still don't have light, water, and road, right? When you have to carry water in, truck water in to build your house, you might say you got a low income house, but really and truly, you spend $3 million, $5, $6, $7 million to build this house because of all of the inputs you've had to make along the way. And that's why, Shanika, was so hurtful going to 5 miles in Bartica and seeing those houses that have been paid for. A family is paying rent someplace else, and that house is sitting down there with all of those defects, abandoned. It is hurtful. And then they're going to come here and talk about all the allocations that they've given out. They're going to talk about all of these housing schemes. When you go on the ground and you see the thing for yourself, it is very, very heartbreaking. Go at the back of Mucka and see where they're doing that new housing scheme. It's total chaos at the back there. And so we got to bring a lot of scrutiny to this matter. As I said, with using their own numbers, these 25,000 titles, for instance, I said they've given out. I did say that the Minister of American Affairs, she said they've given out 16,000 in the hinterland. Now, I understand demarcation. I understand indigenous land rights and land use as well, right? Interestingly, that part of doing law is land law.
Yeah.
And this country has a very, very complex legal system where it concerns land. So I understand that. But it's even worse because they did not give out allocations for those 16,000 titles. Those were people who were already living on the land. And what they were doing is basically regularizing. So it's even worse. And you will see, if you look at the numbers where allocations are concerned, the coast, region 4, accounts for about 70%. The hinterland regions, 1, 7, 9, account for about 10%. So it's even less allocations going to those places. That is why we know you couldn't give out 16,000 allocations. It had to have been regularization you're doing. So it's even worse. So it means that you only give out about, how much is the difference to 25,000? 16 and 4 is 25, 9,000 titles. So you have given out 53,000 allocations and 9,000 titles. It means only 9,000 people go to the bank and bill. Right? And part of it too, I believe strongly that we have to really get a true picture where housing is in this country. You have to have a national dashboard of sorts. Because think about it, of that 9,000 who go to the bank, right? We don't know who the bank turned down.
Correct.
We don't know who billing, who got approval, but didn't start billing yet. We don't know who self-billing, who said, I'm going to the bank. Right? Who started billing on the land. We don't know who stopped halfway. None of that information is captured. All we hear is allocations. But clearly, that model is failing them. And that is why they're going now to this, we're building houses. But interestingly, as I said, 4,000 houses built in the last 5 years. And they want to convince us that they could build 40,000 homes
in the next
twice what they're doing every year. They want to do 8,000 a year and 40,000 homes over 5 years. You see, you have a lot of ghosts and zombie schemes in this place.
You know, one of the things that came out as well, and I am happy that you made that challenge, and I'm waiting to see if anybody will come and, you know, say, give us it. When you ask the question, you ask them to show us one completed housing scheme.
As per the specifications.
Yeah.
The planning specifications.
Correct. With all the infrastructure in place.
They have spent, I think, more billions in Silicon City. This is President Ali's pet project.
Yes.
When you go in Silicon City, you can't see any of this high-tech green, this and green, that and state of the art. You can't discern that. You can't discern that. The project itself has no prime place, even in their own budget, where you could say, okay, these are the aims, these are the objectives. You just see Silicon City and an allocation. It's a pet project. I think it's a slush fund. I think it's a slush fund. When you go and see Silicon City, there's nothing special about Silicon City that is happening any other place. And the fact that we spent all these billions on Silicon City, and we don't have anything to show. Brace yourself, Shanika. Silicon City to date has spent about $20 billion.
Wow.
And what is worse, Silicon City is earmarked to cost about $100 billion.
Wow. But you know what I found interesting as well, because we know that we just talked about the government just handing out allocations and not putting infrastructure. But you're saying, I mean, nobody is there, but the infrastructure is already there. And you made the mention of another product, but you said too, I got to remind you that will have to be three. and not
We
and
went
not
up
two.
there, they got security there. It looks like it's going to be a gated community there. You got lights, you got water, you got
but the village outside of it,
right outside, the roads are bad. They're suffering from.
So it's gonna be a Land Cruiser city, because to get to it, you're gonna need serious transportation.
But clearly, it's Land Cruiser. The cost, it is costing outside of what the ordinary person can afford. 30-something million is low income. The low income like.
Wow. Well,
it's a lot we got to do, a lot of work.
You got to talk about, you know, as well, it's not just infrastructure, it's also showing the vision, or I should say the lack of vision of this government in terms of housing. When you talk about even the sizes of the houses that they're building, and because they're saying it's low income, then you just have to take it without the look. I think they do not understand the link between housing and social services and issues. When you're going to make a 4x4 house, 2 adults and 15 children, what are the social implications
There's no
of
privacy.
something like that?
There is no privacy. There is none whatsoever.
And the reason we're seeing some of the things that we're seeing currently in the society, but this is the government setting up the atmosphere for that.
So there's a lot there. There's a lot of social issues that can breed. I would call those starter homes, really and truly, for a single person who's now entering into life and so on. One of those might be good, not for a family of 3 or 4. And that is how the indigenous people live. They live in these communities. I am very, very saddened by that. I'm very, very saddened by the state of affairs there. And I hope that, as these housing schemes over this next 4 years proliferate because they said they want to do 40,000 homes. So there's more on the horizon that they think about giving people more space to live and to breathe. Now, when you
We have
go,
land.
there are some of those same homes around the REO, Carl Singh, in there in Lethem. He lives in St. Ignatius. There's some of those homes right around. And you should see his palatial dwelling. You should see his big mansion that dwarfs any of those little homes around him. And that's how they live in. And we know we know the rest. We know the PVP ministers doing so well. They could buy houses in Florida. We know the housing officials doing so well. They bought homes in New York and so on. But look what the common man got. You can't even afford the house right where you there. Much more to afford a house so far. And think about it with this. I love it. I love if all of our low-income folks can afford houses for $30 million. But you know what it is? You know what it is, Shanika? Is the inflation. What $10 million could have built 5 years ago, you can't build it now. As a matter of fact, I have a colleague who just finished building his home. And I went by him just over the weekend. And he says, Sherod, he said, what we build this house for? We could build 3, 4 or 5 years ago. We could have built 3 of it. Things are expensive. It's not that there is a large amount of money really available to the common man. It's just that building is so much more expensive in this country. That is part of the challenge that you have now. The cost of living has gone up. Materials have gone up. But wages and salary. What is the minimum wage in this country? What's the low income wage in this country? It's about $100,000, $140,000. The average bank, you have to be earning twice what they are able to lend you. So you have to be earning something like $400,000 a month to get a $160 installment a month mortgage for 30 years. 30 years. That's around your back. Think about the difference now. Free house lot for starters. We're giving you all these subsidies, right? We're giving you rental assistance while your house billing and all of that. That's how you put people first.
Definitely. So with all that has been said, I want you to sum up your thoughts about the budget holistically here for us.
And now there's going to be some support for the government because there's some critical things in here. The cash grant. People need money in this country. It might be small, but it can do something. Health services, education. We might not like the broad strokes of it, but we can offer some support where it is necessary. But we have to hold them accountable. We got to hold them accountable. And that's why I said there's this mismatch against what the minister is saying, what is in these estimates, and the reality on the ground. There's a mismatch. When you see how people live at Maka, when you go at Parika Sea Dam, and you see how people live there. I went into Amelia's ward recently. They're trying to regularize the area back there. It's bare confusion. But again, the cost is so high. We're going to have to hold them accountable. We're going to have to re-strategize in many areas. But I know we can do it. We've already started in this new dispensation. And I am very happy with the team that I'm on, that we can do this thing. And we'll continue to hold the government accountable. You know, and the faster we dislodge them from government, get into government, then people will see what putting people first is. We started, and Shanika, you know this, we did not have the oil resources, and we'd already embarked on housing solutions. And they now, after 5 years, and a failed model with allocations, they're now embarking on having stole our theme, putting people first.
Thank you so much, MP, for sitting with us. And to our viewing audience, continue to follow us as we continue to give you updates on day 2 of the budget debates. I believe our next speaker will be one of our new MPs, MP Riaz Rupnarain, should be next on the floor. So look out as we keep you updated.